Hi, everyone. This is Jacqueline from She Rises Studios, and welcome to today's author celebration. Today, we are celebrating The Addiction Loop, Directing Your Dopamine by Thomas Goddard, a powerful, science backed, and deeply compassionate exploration of how our habits, addiction, and coping mechanisms are wired into our nervous system. This isn't just another book on willpower, it's a guide to seeing yourself clearly and breaking the unconscious loop that keep you stuck, especially on a low capacity days. And the world is listening. The addiction loop is already making waves in Amazon UK bestseller list in 7 different categories, including Kindle Store, Applied Psychology, and more. So please help me welcome the brilliant and grounded voice behind the addiction loop, Thomas Goddard. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
Hey, Jacqueline, I'm doing great. Thanks for
Uh,
being letting me be here. It's great to be here.
well, we are so excited to have you here, and congratulations on such a success. I know we've just launched your book, you've recently published, and obviously, a lot of people are already drawn into this. Now, for those who are meeting you for the first time, can you share
Mhm.
a little bit about your work and what led you to write this book, The Addiction Loop?
Wow, we're going right into the deep questions, aren't we? This book is a lot of things.
Mhm,
First and foremost, people are going to ask the question. It has addiction in the name. I am a recovering addict, so this is
mhm,
part of my story, but it's also, my story of recovery and discovery of what I call the loop and what I
mhm.
found through my personal experience and my lived experience in how simple we can make something like this to give people tools to move forward. It's partly my story. What brought it out in me is honestly, without going too deep into my story, which we could be here for a long time talking about. Um, I believe very much in my own lived experience that we really have two lives. The life we live, life we learn with, and the life we live with after that. And you could put it a number of different ways, like the person I used to be and the person I'm becoming.
Mhm.
This book is the conduit or the connection between those two identities, those two lives. More than anything else, it's me finally giving myself permission to embrace who I used to be for the purpose of growth and moving forward, and now the purpose of service and helping other people identify some of the same disconnects that they're stuck with and they're looping in.
That's wonderful. And, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and often this happens with addiction. People feel stuck. And that's where that loop comes in, right? Now, can you talk to us about you describing addiction as a nervous system pattern rather than a moral failure, which most people looking from the outside probably will look at it as a this is a failure, you're a failure.
hmm Hang on one second here. My lighting is going nuts on me here. Um, simply put, where do we go when stress shows up?
Hmm.
And this is really where I uh, redefine addiction in this book. We are all running a predictable loop using systems that don't match how our nervous system works. And when stress shows up, and this can be somebody that's struggling with substance abuse, and it can also be somebody that considers themselves never to have had a problem with addiction.
Mm.
When
Yeah.
stress shows up, we will want to feel better. We will want relief. That's human biology, physiology. And what
Hmm.
this book is not, and I'll take a moment, this book is not a scientific expert's view. I'm not a scientist, um, but we all have that place we go when we want to feel better. Sometimes it's a substance, whatever that substance may be. Sometimes it's an action,
Hmm.
whether it's reading or walking or scrolling on social media for an hour. we will go to that place and do that thing that gives us that relief. So when stress or conflict shows up, we want relief. We reach for what works fast, but it costs us later. It costs us in a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. And then it repeats, because next time what our body tells us when that stress shows up again is, remember, this worked last time, do it again. And there's the loop. So it's really short-term relief will train your long-term pattern. And most of us live with a loop, navigate it, don't even know it's there, but we on a regular basis. What's reliable is the cycle, the pattern. And that's what I redefine here. Simply put, and I know I'm sorry if I'm jumping all over the place here, but simply put, addiction needs to be redefined, and that is the first thing that I do in this book. Addiction is not a moral failure on the individual's part; it's a mechanical dysfunction. And when we don't look at something like this as a moral, sudden, we can approach it differently, and we can do a lot more to identify what's causing that loop and individually move forward in our own nervous system, not trying to reach the expectation or the instructions or the guidance of people that are telling us to do it a different, a specific way. And that way just isn't working for me, because we're all different.
And I totally agree, because if you see this, pattern as not as a failure, then it's easier for you to see that there is a way to break through this cycle, because I'm not a failure. I just have a different pattern. And this is where I think, the willpower comes in. What do you think is the most misunderstood concept about willpower and behavior change?
That's a great question. I think I would answer it this way. It's not discipline you need more of, it's a better architecture. A system that is designed for willpower to be there. Motivation, let's take that. Everybody loves motivation, and there's a whole bunch of people on social media, and that's all they do. They talk motivation. Motivation's great. We all want it, we all need it. But if my system is dependent on motivation being present, it's already failed. Because what happens when the motivation isn't there? If I need motivation to be successful at whatever it is that I'm doing, I've already lost. And I think that's the biggest indication that there is a loop that I do not see, don't know, don't feel, don't understand. And we don't need more discipline to move forward. We need a better architecture, so that when motivation isn't there, and all of us will experience that crash every single day. When it's not there, my system still functions.
And I love that you look at this as not you don't lack discipline. You just need a better architect, right? Or a better architectural structure for you to
sorry,
follow.
I had to turn that light off.
Totally fine. Yes. Now, a lot of people understand why they feel stuck. They know that they're stuck. They feel stuck, but they seem to can't break through it. Why doesn't insight always lead to change?
Because insight points out the pain, not the problem. I think you can probably see this in any subject we could bring up. And that's really who this book is written for. It's for people who do feel, here's what I see, here's what I feel is wrong. I'm really unstuck, but I'm stuck, but I don't know what's causing it. I don't know what's missing, or what I'm doing right or wrong or otherwise, in order to either continue the cycle moving, the pattern moving forward, or being able to break it. This book helps people understand what's the real problem for me. And my loop is different than your loop. Okay. It's structured the same way, but we're two different people. And so we're going to go to different places for different reasons when that same stress or conflict shows up. And this book helps the individual reader identify how the loop is manifest in my life, specifically to me. Not right, not wrong, just correct, accurate, clear, and once I have that understanding of, okay, here's why it's happening, here's what the problem really is. Well, now I have choices. Now I have the ability to be able to step forward into change, growth, creating new patterns, etc.
The decision to do that is a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
then it's a lot clearer for anyone. Now, for those people that can see, understand that they're stuck, that they're having difficulty breaking that loop, what would you advise? What is one small step action that they can take to go to that direction in just breaking that loop?
Mm. I love this question and I get it all the time. So I'm really glad you brought it up. I struggled with addiction for 25 years. A lot
Mm,
of different substances, a lot of different relief mechanisms. All the while, it was the same cycle, same pattern, same loop going on in me. It took 5 seconds once I knew what the loop was.
mm,
It took 5 seconds to change direction, to change options, etc. It's kind of like the 5-year-old that doesn't know the big picture of why they're being disciplined in the moment, but they're given options. Option A, you can do this and get this reward, or option B, you can do this and get this consequence. This work takes 5 seconds. I'll call it like a hinge on a door. That pause is where agency lives. And this work is really through the book, you'll see that the reader will see that it is in the micro moments that I can take that pause and recognize what my options are before I've already enveloped myself in that relief mechanism. Change doesn't happen in big decisions. It happens between the urge and the action. 5
mm.
seconds is enough to change that direction. So what we're talking about first is really just noticing sooner what's happening in my body when that stress shows up, whether
Mm.
it's, craving, hunger. It's usually related to some sort of emotional pull somewhere, whether it's a relationship to money or people or jobs or dependency, whatever it may be. Could be past, could be things in my past that come back up in that moment, whatever it is. Where do I go? What's my equivalent of eating a jar of ice cream or too many chocolate bars, or, getting a drink, whatever it may be. That right before the act of reaching for that relief, that's where the pause needs to happen. And until we recognize that, we won't see those options. This work, that's the first thing, is teaching someone how to pause for 5 seconds and be able to recognize what's happening in their body first and their mind second.
And it doesn't take that long. That
No.
the pause between the urge and the action. I love that. That's wonderful. What do you hope your readers will feel after finishing the addiction loop?
That's easy. Less shame and more agency.
That's
Language
wonderful.
for what's happening in their body
Mhm.
that isn't contained in a moral environment or ecosystem. When I look at something through the lens of morality, and I'm not talking spiritual or religious, just moral right and wrong,
Mhm.
I'm already in a judgment zone. And
Yes.
now I have several things I have to compete with. Namely, I have to compete with the substance I'm already involved with. I still have to compete with what's causing it because that hasn't been solved yet. And now I feel bad. I feel guilty. I feel shame about simply being in that moment again.
Mhm.
This is why relapse happens. This is why people fall off the wagon. This is why they say to hell with recovery. It's just easier going the other way. Why is it easier? There's no shame there. I'll give you a quick example, and I know we need to move on, but when I got out of recovery, the very few friends that knew what was going on embraced me. Great work. We're so proud of you. I'm here for you. Whatever, those lines. When I relapsed, it wasn't like that. Get away from me. That's what it was like. Because we approach this from that, through looking at this whole subject, and that word, the A word is what I call it, looking at it from that moral lens. So I know it's a long answer to a short question, but my hope is that the reader, regardless of where they're coming from, and I'll speak to that. This could be an addict. It could be somebody that is struggling with alcoholism or drug abuse or something else. It could be someone in that person's life, someone who is in support of them, not struggling themselves, but struggling of how to be the person in that person's life for accountability and love and support. It could be people in positions of advancement, high stress jobs that are highly, a requirement of their presence, whether it's 80 hours a week or just, 8 hours a week, but it's really high intensity. I'm talking about, CEOs or, executives, or even just people that a lot of people look up to me and I'm responsible for them, leadership management, all of those. And when that stress goes up, I'm speaking to those people too. It could be any one of those, but it's language for them about what's happening in their body, relief from that self-blame mechanism that shows up in those moments, a way to interpret the loop for them. Their loop is different than anyone else's, and a sense of choice, knowing I have options here. I don't need to just go to the bottle. I have options. I don't need to withdraw and just, keep everybody at arm's length in the stress time. Less shame about the fact that I'm involved where I'm at, and more agency in how to move through it.
I love that. And to close us off here, as a final question, if someone is stuck in the loop right now, listening to us, what would you want them to hear?
Mm. You're not broken. You need a better system. I think it's probably the most important message of the book. Definitely the message and lesson that it took me 30 years to learn that. Addiction to a number of things and not identifying that loop for myself cost me a lot in finances and business, in marriage and family and children and time with them. And the whole time I was involved in that, could not get through it. I felt like I was broken. So that's my message to whoever's watching this that is struggling with anything right now that they feel they're stuck in. You're not broken. You need a better system for the days when motivation doesn't show up fully. And by the way, that's every day.
That's
Introduce them to a way of seeing this true, nuanced, new normal, that the things that we are addicted to does not make us broken, does not make us morally less. It makes us mechanically dysfunctional. And that's my message. You're not broken. You just need a better system.
Well, thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you for reminding us we are not broken. We just need a better system. And that insight, compassion, and strategy are far more powerful than shame when it comes to change. The Addiction Loop, Directing Your Dopamine, is a must read for anyone tired of cycles that feel invisible and escapable. To our audience, this isn't about fixing yourself, it's about understanding yourself. So please grab your copy if you haven't yet. The Addiction Loop is now available on Amazon, and take that first step toward freedom, clarity, and a life designed with intention. Thanks again, Thomas. Thanks everyone for joining me today. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jacqueline.